Alright, welcome back. I haven't made a video in a while, but I thought, why not? I might as well make one. So today, I'm going to be talking about 8 books every man should own. And these are only books that I've read or am reading. And if you have any more suggestions, put them down in the comments because there's a lot more than just 8 books that a man should read. But here are my suggestions. So, one that's mentioned a lot whenever people talk about this would be 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And this is one of those things I can't really summarize. It's not a book I can summarize because the stuff he talks about are way too complicated, and I feel like it does the book and Jordan Peterson a disservice or injustice by saying, well, it's basically a self-help book. So I can't explain it. It's just something that I think every man should read. Another one that is hard to summarize would be Man and His Symbols by Jung. And the reason why I think men should read a book like this is because we have to know how the world works. And Carl Jung was very good at looking at the deeper layers of how humans function. And symbols are around us every day. So if we can understand those symbols, then we can figure things out better. And that's what men are supposed to do. We're supposed to figure things out. We're supposed to learn these things to make the world a better place. So that's just another book that gives you tools to work with. I really like nonfiction as a genre, but I think that some action and adventure is also important for a man to read. So I've actually made a video about this guy, Louis L'Amour. I mean, great man, obviously on the Great Man podcast. But he wrote a book series called The Sacketts, which I highly recommend. It's action and adventure, and it's about this family. It starts off in England, a guy in England, and it goes all the way down. He eventually goes to the New World or America. Each story is about a different child or grandchild and keeps going down generation from generation. And so far, my favorite book is actually Jubal Sackett. It's the best one I've read so far. And I think it's important for men to read stories like this, even though they are fictional, because going back to Carl Jung, these guys are the hero archetypes. So that's just another symbol we can learn about. And we need to have stories like this, even though they are fictional, because you can do the same things as those guys to a certain extent. So that's another great series. And in a world where we don't have good education at all, very, very terrible education, it's important for a man to know to have a basic understanding of history. And if you are American, then I think it's good for you to truly understand American history as much as possible. So the next book is The Politically Incorrect Guide to American History by Thomas Browne. I read this book, and there's so many facts, stories and facts about America that I didn't know. And I'm glad I know it now, because basically every war we were in seems like a complete scam, and there's no reason to be in it. World War I, World War II as well, basically. We didn't have to go to war with Japan. And another thing I learned in that book about World War I is that the British blocked food and supplies from coming into Germany. They made a naval blockade to stop anything from coming in. So they basically starved the German population, innocent people. But that's not something you'll learn about in school because British good, German bad. And for any man that is in school now, I'm sure we can all agree that you're never going to learn stuff like that. You're not going to learn true history, really. And if you're no longer in school, you probably didn't learn anything like that either. It's very simple, very basic. Everybody knows about World War II, and they have a vague understanding. It's just Nazis. And so we start off with World War I when we're in history class, and then everybody's like, oh my gosh, Germans, Nazis. It's like, no, they weren't Nazis yet. So that's why it's important to actually learn history, and this is a great book to do it with. The next book is How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Browne, and it's been probably a year and a half since I read this book, but it was very helpful. He was basically saying, don't worry about the external stuff. It's mainly just that you have to change what you're doing to make yourself better. Don't get annoyed by this little thing or that little thing. I'd say it's more like a much, much simpler version of 12 Rules for Life. Going back to Louis L'Amour, there's also Education of a Wandering Man. Louis L'Amour's story is amazing, really. And it's it's a story that all people should read because it sounds like a fictional story. And so Education of a Wandering Man, it's about a story of a great man who, it seems like he's lived multiple lives. And he's been multiple people. So not only did he write great books, but his life was a great story as well. And I think that's what all men should strive to achieve. They want their lives to be a great story. Another one is a book called The Portable Nietzsche, which has, I think, all of the books he wrote in one book. So that's another good thing to have. The final thing is a wilderness survival basics book, because every man should know how to do the basics when surviving in the wilderness. I think every man should know how to skin an animal. I've been lucky enough to skin a rabbit and a sheep so far. It's an important life skill, because chances are you're probably not going to need it, but it's better to have the skill than not to have it. And it's cool. Learn how to make your own fire, learn how to make your own shelter, learn how to cook your food, learn how to hunt for food. That's all stuff we should know. Now, even though these are just my personal suggestions, and like I said, if you have any suggestions for other books to read, then put them down in the comments, because there's a lot of books I'm missing, for sure, and there's lots of different books from different genres that are important to bring in, that are important for a man to read. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.